Ladies and gentlemen, we have another exciting episode 9, with an incredible guest. This guest is not only an amazing military spouse, but a dynamic personality, and most importantly, a leader in our real estate industry. Miss Lindsey, let's get Litton.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, so as you know, we get right into it here on Duty on in Real Estate. So let's dive into about your journey as an active military duty spouse, and how it shaped not only your personal, but your professional life.
Okay, well, I will say my journey into real estate is actually a unique one. I was actually an active duty military spouse at the time. We were living in Clovis, New Mexico. And I was working at a big consulting firm, and I had been working for them telecommuting for the last 5 years. And it was the day before we were moving to San Antonio that I got a call from HR that I was being let go. And so it was a shock, needless to say. So the next day we moved to San Antonio, moved into a hotel, and it was a really difficult time. My spouse was in processing. I was a mom with a little baby at the time and 2 dogs living in a hotel. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way to handle housing for military families. Like, why am I living in a hotel at this moment? So a couple months later, my real estate agent, after we closed on our home, called me and said, Lindsey, you should think about real estate. And I said, well, I really do not think of myself as a real estate agent, because in my mind, real estate agents were these corny, face on their car, little phone glued to their head kind of people. And those are not my people. I was a craftsmanship marketer, my friend. I was not this chintzy, marketer is how I viewed real estate agents. And so I said, I'm not really interested in that. He kept at it for a couple months. I said, all right, here's what we'll do. I will work for you and I will market your real estate business. And I said, I will do that, but I'm not going to do the real estate piece. And so for a couple months, went in, marketed his real estate business. He saw a huge influx in real estate leads. I started getting on the phone because I noticed, okay, well, he's getting more leads if we get on the phone. So I started getting on the phone, calling expireds, calling FSBOs. And I started seeing a lot of success. And so a couple months later, got my real estate license. Within 48 hours of getting my real estate license, secured my first listing for a young military family. And I sold it within a couple days. And that one military family, I'll never forget them. They have referred me over the years probably $15 million in closed real estate transaction. Becca Sparks was my first listing that I ever sold. And I always say she was the spark to my real estate career, because it was just an influx of serving military families from there on out.
Wow. Talk about getting right into the journey. Well, it's great to hear, not great to hear, but it's so admirable to hear a lot of these military spouses, they have their own careers while they're serving their significant other, and they're working through that journey in the military. And it's crazy to see that you got let go, you're here balancing everything, and you're still there for your significant other. And it's a reminder for people to understand that the military spouses are serving as well and sacrificing. And what's cool is that there's always a commonality with military spouses. They will somehow get encountered with real estate, right? Obviously, you have to buy housing. But what I've noticed with military spouses is because they can juggle so much and they can manage so much, other real estate professionals will actually see you and be like, hey, this person can do this job and help our industry. And so I love seeing that where you have military spouses, balancing their lives with the military and then getting other opportunities within real estate. And I like seeing the industry recognize that. Unfortunately, just like us, we have a hasty generalization of the industry, and it's unfortunate. But because of leaders like you, leaders who we've interviewed here at Duty on Real Estate, they're changing that perception. And I'm glad you took that risk, moving careers and doing a crawl, walk, run, which is a lot in the military. And you got a little taste of the marketing. And then slowly but surely, you ended up doing your first transaction and having an incredible experience, which just paid dividends. And that's just a testimony to all the other military spouses that, hey, you can have a career and you can get a new career and you can flourish. So, no, thanks for talking about that. But what people really need to understand that, it's not as easy as it sounded, right? So I could only imagine transitioning new cities, transitioning new careers, that you probably had some big obstacles. So what were those big obstacles that you faced early on?
So I think that's a great question because military spouse unemployment hovers around 28%. It is triple the national average. So when you mentioned, wow, military spouses and careers, one thing that I did notice is that it's incredibly difficult to overcome some of the bias system that you'll face as a military spouse when you're constantly moving and transitioning. So, in addition to the moving every 3 years, we're also faced with our spouse being deployed. Every move creates a new deployment opportunity. And throw a couple kids in there, throw the household in there, doing it as a solo parent. It's really difficult. So it is not surprising that the unemployment rate is as high as it is, yet that is a big challenge that I think a lot of military spouses have to overcome in terms of their mindset. Because they think to themselves, okay, we're only going to be here for 3 years. Why would I even start a new career? Or my spouse is going to be gone. I'm not going to get going into a new career. So the mindset is one big challenge that I think a lot of military spouses have to overcome. And my encouragement there is rather than waiting for the perfect moment, which there will never be a perfect moment to launch your career, just dig in. You just got to go. And if you're only going to be somewhere for a year, if you're going to be somewhere for 2 years, it's still enough time to get momentum in whatever career choice you decide to go into. When I moved to San Antonio, we were a young military family. I had, my daughter she was only a year at the time. And by the time I got into real estate, I had just had my second child. So he was 6 months. For moms listening that are military spouses, I was breastfeeding and showing houses all at the same time while my spouse was deployed. And so had I not had the mindset of just jumping in and doing it, I probably would have never launched my real estate career. So that's one challenge. The second challenge is support, right? And when you get into any kind of career, especially in real estate, you're going to need childcare and support because towing your 2 children to showings and listing appointments and things like that, not always feasible. And that's a big challenge for military spouses and military families. So I actually leveraged a couple amazing programs. There is a program called NACRA that is out there that helps supplement childcare off base so that you can get cheaper childcare. At the time, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this too, you guys have kids, we were paying $3,200 a month in childcare for both of my kids when I was just launching my real estate career. That's not feasible for a lot of military families. So there are programs out there that can help support, but that is a huge challenge. So again, if you're not selling anything and you're forking out $3,200 a month in childcare, that's a big challenge, right? The other big challenge that you face as a military spouse getting into real estate is I can't tell you how many people told me, Lindsey, getting your real estate license in a market where you know no one is so stupid. And so I combated that argument by saying, you know what, I'm a kick butt marketer. And I'm going to do what I've always done. I'm going to market, and we're just going to see where it goes. And so my very first listing with Becca Sparks came from an email. So step number 1, I gathered my database. I put my entire database together, which was over 200 people at the time. And I sent him an email saying, hey, I just got my real estate license. Who do you know that is looking to buy or sell a home here in San Antonio, Texas? It was a Pampered Chef contact. that I had made in Clovis, New Mexico that referred me to Becca Sparks. So if you are listening to this podcast thinking, I'm not going to get my real estate license because I don't know anyone and I don't have a database in that market, that is a complete lie. Your database that you were sitting on could be the linchpin into getting your first deal.
Wow. I'm losing my breath here. I'm like, I feel like I'm getting coached right now. No, this is incredible. And I love how you break it down. And those are the three like really challenges that every military spouse or any veteran getting into real estate is probably going to experience, most likely. One, like moving is inevitable. Like you will move. I remember Lana was like pretty much saying, you're either leaving me or you're leaving the military. And because it's so hard to get up and move again. So, I mean, obviously being adaptable is so important, and you kind of hit that in the mindset. And, two, you talk about you need to create a support channel, a support team. It's funny, I was a logistics officer, so I was all about, supply, support, right? And people don't understand that that's really what you have to think about first, is like the logistics of running this lifestyle, this business lifestyle. And lastly, I love how you talk about it, like the unknown. A lot of people are get scared about, oh, you don't know anybody. But as veterans, military spouses, your life is unknown. Like, where are you going to go next? What deployment? What training? You don't know what's going to happen. And I love that. I love, reminding people that. And you really like mitigate all that with that mindset. And I love how you talk about digging in. If you think about trench warfare, like it's the first thing you gotta get your little e-tool, they call it. And I don't know if the Air Force they have e-tools, but
maybe not in the Air Force.
But in the Army we got e-tools. And and building out that trench warfare. And I love how you talked to it also, is that you really have to shoot, move, and communicate. You were talking about I'm breastfeeding and showing homes, and so really being adaptable. And I can only imagine that mindset has been very important to you, because after this, what did you do? I think you went into the Litton group, right? So could you talk about, did that mindset help you? Was that the inception to this organization and probably many more?
So as much as I'd like to say that the military was a hindrance kind of in my career, I will say it was also a catalyst for change. So had we not known we were going to be moving again, so to back up the timeline a little bit, so I go from breastfeeding my son in between showings to I was Rookie of the Year my first year. My second year, I doubled in production. By my third year, I had doubled that. I doubled every single year. And by my fourth year, we got orders to move to Colorado. So here's the catalyst for change, right? Had the military not moved us, I would probably still be selling real estate in San Antonio, because it's addicting, right? You just keep thinking to yourself, well, I'll just keep doubling. Yet the military came in and said, nope, we're going to switch that up. You're going to move, and you have a choice. You can either keep your real estate team, or you can shut it down and start it over again. And that was a conversation I had with my coach at the time. And he said, Lindsey, those are your choices. What do you want to do? And I said, those are kind of crappy choices. I don't like either one of them. Yet I went home, I prayed, and I said, all right, I'm going to find somebody that is going to come in and going to help me run this team, because I'm going to keep this team going. I'm going to keep the momentum going, and I'm going to move. And the next day I met my business partner. And so it was, again, the military pushed me into a tight timeline that I would have never pushed myself into. Was it uncomfortable? Yes. Yet it was also really rewarding in a sense that it leveled me up as a leader. When you go from being a solo agent to creating and running a team, and then creating and running that team from another state, your leadership skills have to level up in a way that you would have never imagined. And so that kind of kickstarted my leadership journey, to be honest, because let's be honest, I was not a great leader in the beginning. I don't think anyone is. And I think you go through team member after team member, assistant after assistant, until you learn, okay, what is the common denominator here? It's me. And I had to take responsibility for leveling up my leadership, my systems, how I managed a team from afar. and my ability to delegate and let things go, because you cannot be there to oversee every single detail. So yeah, going from a solo agent into creating a team was not something that I envisioned, yet I made it happen. And then the other really cool thing that came from that was, do we start another team in Colorado, or what do we do? And the opportunity that we saw with military families moving out of San Antonio, looking for realtors, saying consistently, Lindsey, I wish I could just pick you up and take you to my next move, kept happening over and over. And that was the opportunity we saw for launching the referral network.
Wow. Pressure makes diamonds. I hope people saw that. Again, you talk about the catalyst, the military being a catalyst of change, but what I hear is that you embrace the change. And it didn't, it would not have been a catalyst if you did not accept it. And I felt that that's very important is one, you have to accept your situation. But once you accept it, doesn't mean you have to accept it literally for just what it is. You need to figure out how to create options within that acceptance, within that situation, and which is like a key element in negotiations. And if you don't have options, you don't have anything. And, through your coach and through your prayer, you were figuring out like what's the best option. And it looks like you chose the option to expand, to, brand and expand. And that's really great because in the end, it revealed your character. And I would say to all military spouses, you have experienced so much adversity that your character has built over the years. And you had a moment in your career, in your life, where you revealed your character. And I'm glad that you did that because we would have never met you, and so glad. Now, you talked a lot, but I know something in there during that time. You achieved 100 million plus sales in half the industry average time. Like, you have to give us some sort of strategy of how you even achieve that, because that's everyone's goal, is to get into the 100 million bracket.
Sure.
Please tell us how you did that, especially implementing a team too.
So our team at the time when I moved to Colorado, we were doing about 120 transactions. So we were helping a lot of military families in the San Antonio area. So I don't want to belittle that by any means. And, we would do 20, 30 million a year on average. And when we launched the referral network, we saw the opportunity to help more military families. So the mission was always the same. The mission was helping military families have a smooth transition every time they moved. And the underlying social impact from our mission was, if we can teach military spouses how to have meaningful careers within real estate, that's what we're here to do. Because we wanted to show them, like, hey, real estate is a viable career and you can do it. The beautiful thing about being a military spouse and being a military veteran in real estate is we constantly know of people that are buying and selling homes, because our entire network are people that are moving. It's so amazing when you think about it like that, instead of thinking about it through like, oh, well, I'm only going to be here for 2 years. I should not get into the industry. So it is that mindset piece. And then the other piece to that, hitting the production numbers we did, the 100 million was in closed referrals. So that was sales transaction volume that was happening all over the country. And so what we discovered, I love telling this story because it's always like, it's so unsexy when it starts, right? So our first year, I think we sent 25 referrals, maybe closed one. Okay. And it was done in an Excel spreadsheet, and it was done like cold calling realtors. It was done from this funky little office where it was just me like, I'm going to get all these leads and I'm going to cold call these realtors and see if they'll like accept my referral fee. Mind you, some realtors will not accept your 25% referral fee, which is shocking. So if you're listening from Yuma, Arizona, that was the hardest market for us to find an agent that would accept our referral fee, and don't be that agent. So yeah, we closed that volume because of our mission. It was always about serving the military community, right? We didn't go into real estate thinking, I want to sell 200 million and that was the goal. The goal was always to serve the community, and we didn't really care what the number was. It was a beautiful thing that the number happened to be over 100 million. Yeah, is that cool? Sure. Yet that wasn't what drove us.
Wow. What people need to understand is that you're successful when you make other people successful. Mm-hmm. And I love that because not only were you helping your team and your referral partners, but you saw a greater mission, right? You talked about people generally start with a number, like I need to make $50 million or whatever. But you're like, wait a minute, the mission really is to continue our service. And that's a theme that you already embodied. And I love that because you not only get into a niche, but you get into something that really changes lives, changes cities, changes like the United States. People don't understand, how tough it is with a military family. And the fact that you guys have served, I think, over 300 military families during that time.
I'm sure it's more than that.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not counting. You count it. I just know the impact is real. And you have so many stories that probably stand out. Mm-hmm. Any stories stand out about how you guys helped certain military families through those initial initiatives or future initiatives from there?
There's some really cool stories that we have. One that comes up quite frequently. So one of the things, we did this really cool thing when COVID happened, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that challenge, right? Let's talk about when COVID happened and nobody could go and show homes and nobody was selling homes because nobody could show homes, right? We had in our business plan to do a movie night. And we were like, okay, we're going to do this movie night. We're going to do it in San Antonio. We're going to do it as a client appreciation event. COVID hit. Me and my business partner happened to be in the same area, and we were strategizing when COVID hit. We were actually skiing in Taos together. And we were like, okay, well, the whole world is shutting down, but the military will still move. We're okay. And then we got an email saying, nope, military's got to stop movement. And we were like, well, okay. It was the catalyst of change again. It was that adversity, right, that got us to think creatively, and we launched virtual movie nights. And this virtual movie night was born out of COVID. It turned out to be one of the most impactful things that our organization did, in addition to finding people homes, which is obviously very noble and impactful for military families. But the virtual movie nights, the stories that we would get from families, how they would incorporate our movie night. So let me talk a little bit about the movie night. So what we did is we created a Facebook group. We invited people into the Facebook group. They would come and we would say, okay, on, May 4th, we're going to ask everybody to watch a Star Wars movie. And leading up to May 4th, we launched trivia. We did giveaways in the Facebook group. I used to host these funny little charcuterie videos where I would make a charcuterie board and I would show people how to deck out their house so that, you're creating this experience in your house because we can't go anywhere. And we've got to entertain our kids. So we do like kid crafts and things. And we turned it into this really fun thing that, May 4th at 6 o'clock, you turn your whatever Star Wars movie you want to watch, you turn it on. We're going to do giveaways and trivia during the movie night. And then, at the end, you're going to win some prizes. And it's really simple. We also did one other thing, which was really cool, is we had a register to get these snack boxes. So we'd put together these little themed snack boxes for whoever filled out our Google form. All right, if you're listening to this and you're a real estate professional, what is the number one thing that feeds your database? Data.
Yeah.
We were collecting data like nobody's business. These little boxes that we were putting together, mind you, were just fun little Costco boxes. This is not expensive stuff. It was like full of Costco candy, Costco popcorn, some, Star Wars stickers or whatnot we'd throw in there. We had hundreds, if not thousands of people registering for these little snack boxes. At one point, my assistant who would put together all the snack boxes in Las Vegas, her whole garage is full of snack boxes with like themed candies or whatever. We had to schedule our own post office pickup for all these snack boxes, right? The point of all of this was the stories from the military families. They say we spent the last night as a military family before my spouse deployed for a whole year at your movie night. Thank you guys for hosting this. You brought our family closer together.
I love this because the example you're giving is not, like you said, it's not sexy. People think that like you need to create some crazy algorithm, something that is expensive. And what I love about it is that you took a crisis and you're like, oh, we're going to turn this to a positive. And then we're going to lean in on committing to the community, which is what the military needs to during a time of crisis. And I love how not only did you take that leadership approach, but then you took like a more analytical approach. And that's where like the sexiness comes in, is where, wait a minute, we have all this data here. We need to start stirring this. We need to start understanding it. And that's beautiful. And that's something that military spouses, like, literally, you don't need a Fortune 500 investor or something to come into your business. You don't need all these scientific things. What you need is heart. You need a little bit of mind here, you know? And so, no, I love it. I feel like you created your own little LG TV, little Litton Group TV. And so, which is a great idea. And I love that. And I think you need to bring that back.
I've been thinking about ways to bring it back because it was so much fun. Here's the thing. It was so much fun, and let's talk about the business aspects of it, right? We had sponsors coming to us saying, "Hey, we want to sponsor your snack packs," right? We had the ability to grow our database. The leads that came from this, awesome, right? So it offered us business ROI, yet that wasn't totally the reason why we did it. We did it because we wanted to create community and we wanted to bring people together. And I truly believe that when you create community and you bring people together, it benefits your business in ways that you would have never imagined.
Oh, of course, it's exponential. And a little bit in this storytelling that you're telling us, there's some technology that is creeping into your business and who you are as a brand, I think. And I think you took advantage of Facebook.
We did.
Facebook groups.
We did.
And I think you're pretty established in terms of a thought leader in regards to Facebook groups.
So
what about that?
Facebook groups was how we grew the referral business. So we created, again, it was about creating communities. What we noticed is that military families often go to online platforms to find out who's the best realtor, who are the doctors that I need to be connected with, you know, what's the best school districts, what's the best housing, all that kind of stuff. That goes online. And for the most part, it's happening in Facebook groups. So we saw a huge opportunity to create the community where people were already going, and to leverage the technology as to where the conversations were happening, and to own the Facebook groups. So we created Facebook groups. That also helped us, kind of grow the database, helped us stay, again, if you're a real estate agent, the number one thing you want to do is constantly stay top of mind with your target market. It allowed us to stay in front of them in a platform that they were already using.
People work with who they like, know, and trust. And, during COVID and even in this new era of just pure technology, you're taking that internet environment and creating more community where they can like, know, and trust you. And I love that. And again, it's nothing sophisticated. And it's all, but it all derives from community. It all derives from that intentionality. And I know not only was the military families, the Litton Group important to you, but what I have noticed is that you keep taking all these experiences and pushing it. And I think you're gonna move mountains. I think you are, because you're here in Colorado Springs, Pikes Peak. And I feel like you want to continue everything you learned, and you want to, broadcast it. I'm thinking, are you going to do a podcast and continue?
Wow, we set that up well, didn't we? Yes, we'll be launching Moving Mountains with Lindsey Litton, Your Keys to Real Success. We'll be launching here really soon. I'm currently working on curating content and bringing some guest speakers in. And the focus is really to talk about a lot of the adversity that I have faced and how to be resilient through change. I really feel like, and we can talk about some of my personal adversity that I've faced professionally and, health-wise. And what I've learned through this journey that I've gone on as a business owner, as a military spouse, is that challenges are always going to arise. And when they do, there's always an opportunity. Yet very few people see the opportunity in the moment, and I believe that's why a lot of people get stuck. So we're going to be talking about seeing opportunity and climbing that mountain.
It's so cool to see that a small tribe that you grew up with, right? The military community, the military spouse community. You're from a small town in New Mexico, right? Mm-hmm. And so you now to blossom to where you're going to influence business leaders, military, small business leaders, entrepreneurs. It's really cool to see how it's transferable and it's going to be effective. And I can't wait. And I think we should give the crowd just a little bit of what to experience about finding those opportunities. We're in 2023. And it's been an incredible ride, right? Since you joined to where you are now. What opportunities can we see in this market where military spouses, veterans, or just, real estate professionals, how can they navigate this market and find those opportunities? Because there's been a lot of stuff that's happened. So could you share some of those strategies?
Yeah. So you hear a lot about, wow, 2023 was a really hard year. My production was down. It was like the worst year I've had. Now that I am a coach and consultant and now run Lindsey Litton Coaching, essentially, I'm having these conversations daily. And what I do is I like to remind folks there's always opportunity. Now, are the deals going to fall through the sky? No. Yet you need to lean in to what you know. I think it is giving everyone an opportunity to shore up a lot of their systems, to really identify who is it that I'm trying to reach, and really locking in their marketing strategy, because there is opportunity. There are people that are still moving out there. While interest rates are a lot higher than they were 3-4 years ago, people are still moving and they're going to move. What are you doing to level up your skill set? How are you working with other professionals? What are you doing to grow your agent-to-agent referrals? What are you doing to market to your database consistently? This is an opportunity for us to get back to the basics. I think the last 3 years have created an amazing opportunity it's a heyday, right? Like it was raining money there for a long time. Yet now it's time to get back to work and look at the foundation of your business. And do you have the foundational systems and the marketing that are going to support sustainable growth for you over the next couple of years? I think that's the biggest opportunity.
I mean, the opportunity is literally looking at a lens of being more opportunistic. People will say that they want to be more pessimistic. They want to be more of a realistic, like realism or whatever. And life's already hard. And if you don't see the good in things, like it's funny because you saw COVID. COVID was a disaster. No one knew what to do. And you're like, oh, we're gonna make lemonade here, right? You were gonna find the opportunity in that. And that's just a reminder of how important it is to keep that lens, because if you're in real estate and you're a leader, you have to be out front, showing people there's a way. And I love how you break it down about, there's an opportunity in calibrating your systems, an opportunity in understanding really what type of target, what's your niche that you want to get into. Understand that life goes on and it's going to prompt real estate. And you should be in those opportunities where their real estate is prompt. I can't wait, because I think what you're going to really hit down to people is everyone's capable, but are you really willing to be that leader? Are you really to move mountains? Do you really have that faith in yourself and in your mission? So I'm super excited about it. And I want to continue pushing on that personal growth, on that professional development, not only to the military community, but also because at the end of the day, we're all community builders. We're all serial entrepreneurs in real estate. So how are you approaching personal growth and professional growth? Because I mean, they go hand in hand and in harmony. Because we can talk about the real estate strategies, but really at the end of the day, it's going to be an inside job. Do you have any thoughts of that?
So you constantly have to be growing. Like hands down, you got to be growing. And so I think it boils down to a couple of success factors. Who do you hang out with is number one, because you become the sum of the 5 closest people you spend time with. So if you're spending time with people that aren't producing, that are full of drama, that are not where you want to be, my suggestion there is you may need to look at switching up who you're hanging out with. You need to, number one, hire a coach. I mean, you have a coach, I've had a coach. They're going to ask you questions, and they're going to a good coach is going to put things into perspective that you would have never seen had you not had somebody to work it through with. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a coach. I'm saying that because I fully believe in investing in your own personal growth, and I think that is the hack and the shortcut. You can do it through reading. You can do it through group programs. You can do it online. You can do it on your own. I just really think that your growth really expedites when you're working with somebody one-on-one. The other thing that I will say is, there's opportunity in everything. And I'm seeing a lot of people getting out of business, or I'm seeing a lot of people leaning out of real estate, looking for full-time careers. And I think to myself, that's okay. You just didn't really have it in you to do what a lot of entrepreneurs are set to do. And I think, I don't remember the statistic, but I think it's most businesses, 80% of businesses don't make it to year 5. 17% of all businesses that get listed on the market to sell actually sell. We sold our referral network last year, so we're part of the elite group of people that list a business and sell their business, right? That mindset of pushing through when things get really hard, I think it's trainable, yet I think you have to have the desire and the motivation to want to push through when things get hard. And I will say, it has been my experience that most people shy away from adversity.
I just got a little bit more developed. No, it's so funny how your environment, you become a product of your environment, and your environment are the people you spend with every day. Like I spend every day with Lana. So, I'm just 10 times better. But, no, and I get to hang out with amazing people like you. So, without a doubt, that's the first thing that's going to change anyone's life. And I love how you start with that. You start with your environment. In regards to the coaching thing, for the longest time, I hated coaches. Hated them.
We've talked about this.
Yeah, we've talked about this. We've had our consultation. But what I've got to really learn over the time, the difference between trainers, mentors, and coaches, is where a trainer really is going to help you on a skill set, right? I'm a football player. I'm going to learn how to catch or throw better, so I'm going to train. In terms of a mentor, is more training you on making a decision, advice. But if you have both of them, both a skill set and in your experience, you really need a coach, because coach goes back into what we talked about this morning about potential. The coach is there to pull out that potential of you. And I'm excited for what mountains you're going to move with that. And at the end, I mean, you bring it all back. People really need to have the will to prepare, the will to do what they need to do, versus the will to win, the will to make money, the will, and it's just spot on. Could you give some advice for a military spouse, for that Lindsey Litton that's just started with their significant other? How do they start? What do they do? What do they have to do first to start in real estate?
The number one thing that you need to start is make sure that you're in a supportive environment. I will tell you, as a military spouse, have talked with other military spouses, that your environment is a huge component on whether or not you're going to make it through your first year. And that goes back to what we talked about in the beginning. You need a spouse that is there to support your decision, because I can't tell you how many times my first or second year in real estate, I was writing offers from our hotel bathroom, and my spouse was not a fan of the fact that my phone was ringing all the time. Yet there's a component of that goes into real estate. And having led a team of military spouses, your significant other, if they are not supportive of this journey, I will say it's going to be a really hard journey for you. So I think having the support of your spouse and having their understanding that it might be a couple of years, it might be a season where you're going while you're building. There's always that build, right? I'm in the build season with the coaching business. This is the third business I've launched. That first 3 years is build, and it's messy, and a lot of people give up, and it's where you're proving concept, right? You can get past that first 3 years, then it's a lot easier. Then you move into the next phase, which is your messy middle. And your messy middle is where you're spending a ton of money to get to that next level, right? And it's the messy part is figuring out, if this is your first rodeo, what kind of leader you're going to be. So you're going to burn through some people and some systems, and you're going to make some fail forwards. Everyone's going to do it. That's the other thing that I hear from a lot of people is they're so scared of failing that they don't even start. And you're not living life if you never get started. So you're going to fail. Everybody does. And you're going to pay for it, neither time, money, or your hide. But you're going to pay for it. And then you just got to keep moving on. So if you're just getting started in this journey, make sure you're locked into a supportive environment. Make sure that you've got an environment that's going to help with your kiddos, that's going to help with your household, because you can't do it all. And the gals that do it all burn out pretty quick. So make sure that you've got the proper support that you need to really go, treat this like a full-time career. And that's the second point that I want to make, is that if you want to be that, $1 million producer, this is a full-time career. This is not a part-time, I can do this, for 10, 15 hours a week. The success that we're talking about that I've built over the short period of time that I built, that is a 40, 50 hour a week job. And I think a lot of people forget that, because it's really easy, and they think, oh man, this is going to be great. Leads are just going to be flying in. I'm going to be making all this money. If you want to create consistent income, it's going to take some work. And it's going to take some time until you can afford to pay for your time. And that's where your delegation comes in. So, yeah. And then your net worth is your network. So the third piece of advice I have, and this is often overlooked with even seasoned agents that have been in the business for a long time, is your database is your gold mine. So you've got to be constantly feeding your database. And the more that you feed your database and touch your database, meaning email, phone calls, text messages, direct mail, client appreciation events, however, you popping by with pies. I know Lana does a ton of really cool client appreciation events. So if you want to get some inspiration, follow her online, see what she does. But the point being, you need to touch your database consistently to stay top of mind. And that is a gold mine. A lot of people get their license. They're like, oh my gosh, I got to pay for leads. I'm going to do Realtor and I'm doing Zillow. And it's just like, freaking work your database and you're going to close some deals. Do your database.
I mean, if you didn't take notes, you just turn it off right now. But what I hear through this whole thing is really a vocation. At the end of the day, you have to believe that you are called to serve, and you're called to put in the hours. You're called to answer the call of duty. Cool. Mm-hmm. And but what people don't understand, with the vocation comes literally all encompassing of your life, meaning like you have a family, they're part of the same vocation. They're part of this calling. It's like almost like a priesthood, if you will, right? And I that's what I see when I hear all this. Because if you don't believe it, if your purpose isn't big enough, you're not going to be able to really want to put yourself in the right environment, want to seek out the right support mechanisms want to have those tough conversations with your significant other. Because if you don't believe in it, then you're just going to let it go, and it's going to fail. It's going to fail. You don't want to influence others, and so I love that. I love that. So you're so like quick to methodical, like, hey, boom, this is what you're going to do, X, Y, and Z. So I imagine you do that for you. Like, what do you want to do in your life and your future initiatives and your projects? Do you have like, okay, step project 1 or whatever, project 2? Like, where are you at right now? Because you've just had an Old Testament. I feel like you're like in a New Testament right now.
Yeah, Lindsey 2.0.
2.0.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, I feel really blessed to have gone through launching, my real estate team in San Antonio, selling that, and then moving into the referral network, growing that for 5 years, selling that business. And I've kind of gone through a transformation into like, what do I want to do next? Like, what does Lindsey 2.0 look like? And I, was coaching a few people here and there. And what I realized is I have really enjoyed over the last couple of years that coaching aspect. So dipping into people's business once or twice a month, giving them strategic advice, teaching and providing opportunities for them to see things through a different lens has been really rewarding. So when you say, man, you're really methodical, you come in, you X, Y, and Z, going into my third rodeo, launching a new business, Lindsey Litton Co., it is just applying everything that I've learned along the way. And once you get good at applying what you've learned along the way, it becomes fun and you get to do it faster.
That's what genius is. I'm telling you. It's like where you take experiences in education and you pile them up and you form a new creation. And it's just Lindsey 2.0. And I can't wait for other people to experience their 2.0 through you. Could you share what's a piece of wisdom? Because you have a lot of tactics. You have a lot of perspectives. But what's awesome with you is that you've had so many data points. We talk about data. What is one piece of wisdom, for all our listeners? They're at a crossroads between military service and entrepreneurship. Because, you recently had to make a decision with your significant other, right? Do I get out? Do I go do this other career? But what about my career? Like, that's really tough.
Yeah.
Because that is a catalyst. That could be a catalyst, too. It's a defining moment, and that's where people need coaches like you. So what's that wisdom in that crossroads?
Everyone talks about the perfect time, and there is no perfect time. When I was thinking about starting our family, right? When Ruben and I were talking about starting our family, we're like, we need to wait for the perfect time. And we'd have all these people that come in and say, there's really no perfect time to start having kiddos. And they're kind of right? And the same thing goes for launching a business. I often talk about launching a business as kind of like having a child, and it really is. Because you're growing this entity. And in the beginning of the launch, it's an infant, right? Tony Robbins talks about this. He talks about the different stages of the business as growing like a human being, right? So when is a good time to launch a business? Probably yesterday, to be honest. The faster you can get going, the quicker you'll be on your journey to success. And anyone out there saying business ownership is easy and it's going to be smooth sailing is feeding you a line. That's not true. It's going to challenge you in ways that you would have never anticipated. It's going to be financially rewarding and financially devastating at times. Yet you kind of overcome it. And the fun part about overcoming all the challenges is you just get better at the challenges and the challenges get bigger. And so my piece of advice is if you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, just launch something. Like, get started. Like, that's the hardest part. Mel Robbins talks about this all the time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Like, get into movement. You've just got to start moving. And so if you're still in the military and you're thinking, like, I really like to get into the real estate thing, well, take your first step, get your license. Second step, start curating your database. Start having conversations to get leads on people that are going to be buying or selling whatever market that you're serving. I think for military, and having seen my spouse go through his transition now into civilian life, it's everything in the military world is so definite and known. You know the next step in your career. You know what's going to happen when you pin colonel, right? You have your markers and you know what to expect. And it is the complete opposite in the entrepreneurship world. And it's also liberating. Like that's what's fun about real estate. Like you can be as big or as small as you want. You are the driving force in what you want in the real estate world. And it's still the Wild West. That's what I love about it too, is that there's so many opportunities beyond just the selling of real estate. Like for instance, let's say you didn't love the sales side. You could do transaction coordination. You could have a whole business that is geared towards transaction coordination. You could be a photographer. You could work with the real estate agent to go do all of their staging. There's so many aspects within the real estate world that that all kind of tie back into the buying and selling piece, yet they're not, being the star agent, because that's not for everyone either.
Yeah. I hear the power of moment because you'll hit that moment where do I start this business? Mm-hmm. Do I become an agent? Does my significant other leave the military? Do I join the military because it's more secure, mm-hmm. right? Do I go back to the military?
Yeah, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, you're one injury away from the military kicking you out. That's true. Is it that secure?
No, it's really harnessing that moment, and you're saying there is no perfect time.
No. How
can the world contact you, get in touch with you, coach with you, just be your friend?
Be my friend? You want to be invited into my community? Well, yes. I'm glad that you asked. So every week I invite folks into a conversation through a email newsletter that is called the Catalyst Connection. And what we do every single week, so 52 weeks a year, I have committed to this. I'm providing just opportunities to get you to think bigger, to get you to think through some of the stuck that a lot of people are feeling. So if you're like, I can't afford a coach, or I don't really know where to start, or I don't even really know this woman, I invite you into the Catalyst Connection. So it's easy. Go to my website, lindseylittonco.com. It'll get you synced into the Catalyst Connection. And it's just a once a week quick email where you can get food for thought so that you can start being the catalyst that you need to create change in your world.
Boom. You guys better be subscribing right now. We'll see you there. And let's everyone give a big round of applause to Lindsey Litton. Thank you so much for investing in Duty Honor Real Estate. Our community is so thankful, and I can't wait to see what's in store.